With everyone laser focused on the Armory update right now, I've decided to take a step back and look at an investing opportunity that almost nobody is talking about. We're going to break down all the supply and pricing data and look at how similar collections have performed in the past. For most, it was a big surprise when Valve removed the Anubis collection package from the in-game store in December. It had been there for about 2.5 years at that point, so what did this mean? It must be cash. But no, it was only to reintroduce Anubis a couple of weeks later. We also got the Calls to Arms update late last year, requesting skins under an arabesque art and Arabian mythology theme. If that doesn't go hand in hand with a new Anubis 2026 collection to be added to the Armory and future souvenir packages, I don't know what does. But why do I think there's potential for this collection to be a good investment? Let's break it down. This video's sponsor, SkinSwap, is giving you a skin worth up to $50 entirely for free whenever you do your first trade and use my referral code. If you want to refresh your loadout, you can trade your skins for brand new ones in just a couple of seconds. Plus, their market tab now integrates cheap listings from Chinese sites so you can access the best prices without the need for a Chinese ID or bank account. They accept deposits via crypto, MasterCard, and Visa. If you want to cash out, SkinSwap makes that simple too with instant sell options to PayPal or crypto. On top of that, they run free daily, weekly, and monthly giveaways with the chance to earn extra entries simply by trading. Use the link below for a 3% lifetime sales bonus and a free skin worth up to $50. Big thanks to SkinSwap for supporting the channel. Whenever I consider an investment, I always go back to the basics of supply and demand. We need to understand both to make an informed decision. So I started by taking a look at the total factory new supply for all skins in the collection. Of course, this doesn't necessarily paint a great picture on its own, but I like to have it in mind when comparing it to other options. I then spent the entire morning collecting data on all the classified and covert M4 skins in the game. You'll find which collection it's from, whether it's actively dropping or inactive/discontinued, supply for each condition, total supply, and then a price breakdown for each wear based on the cheapest SkinSwap listings on the 2nd of April. Of course, not every skin is available in every wear due to float caps, so those are marked in grey. Right now, the entire table is sorted by factory new supply. The Eye of Horus comes in at essentially 5th rarest, as we're excluding the Asimov. However, given the Full Throttle is a relatively recent addition, being part of the Genesis terminal, it's quite reasonable to expect this supply to go up significantly in the years to come. So in reality, there's only the Coalition, Poseidon, and Royal Paladin with lower supply, but that alone doesn't paint the full picture. If we actually sort by field-tested supply instead, the Eye of Horus becomes 3rd rarest, and there's a noticeable gap in supply between it and what I think is a pretty good comparison, the Coalition, at a similar price point. Personally, I think the Eye of Horus is a much better looking skin and will be far more popular in the future between the two. Also, sitting around the $500 price point, I think it's relatively accessible for a premium rare skin. It's obviously not cheap, but it's also not locked behind that $1,500 barrier for its factory new counterpart. Next, let's also take a look at its unboxing history. This chart shows an estimate for the number of monthly unboxings every month since it was added to the in-game store. Initially, we saw 8 and 9 million per month, although this dropped off fairly quickly, and then it seemed to sit around 1 million for quite a while. Overall, there's been roughly 73 million packages opened, which puts it in the same ballpark as the Prisma 1 case, Gamma 2 case, or Chroma 2 case, for example. Of course, you can't directly compare this package with cases, there's no golds, and the odds are different, but given it was priced around the $2 mark, it was only a bit cheaper than the cost of a case key. Now, after the huge initial spike, its price is sitting around $3. As a little side venture, I decided to calculate the ongoing new supply of Royal Paladins versus the Eye of Horus. As from our table earlier, we saw that the total factory supplies are very similar between the two. The odds for a covert in a standard case are 1 in 156.4, but for a standard map collection, that drops to 1 in 3,758. However, float caps and the number of coverts in a collection also has an impact. So with a 5.57% chance for a factory new, and being one of 2 coverts in the revolver case, the real odds to unbox a factory new Royal Paladin are 1 in 6,082. With roughly 150,000 unboxes per month over the last year, that's about 25 new Royal Paladins coming into existence on average each month. Of course, this does not account for trade-ups, whether new ones are crafted or old ones are consumed. For the Horus, there's a 9.86% chance for a factory new drop, meaning the actual odds are 1 in 40,097. With our 1 million monthly unboxes, we actually end up, and I honestly couldn't believe this, with the exact same number, 25. As always, I want to mention that this video is not professional financial advice. CS2 skins are virtual items and can be highly volatile. Past performance is not indicative of future results, so please do your own further research and consider your financial position before making any decisions. Anyways, if we look at the package itself, its statistical unboxing return is not very good, sitting at just 37% right now based on CS Flow prices. This makes it one of the worst when compared to cases. With that said, however, these abysmal returns don't seem to always matter to people. The fracture case is sitting sitting just alongside it ROI-wise, despite being the second most unboxed case ever. I think this comment I saw on one of my videos really highlights it. My way to make money is opening cases. Yeah, not sure that's a great plan, but it certainly suggests that awful returns aren't a deterrent for some. Ignorance really is bliss. When compared to souvenir packages though, it doesn't seem quite as bad. There's a ton sitting around that 30%-ish mark, and some far below. And I think you can argue this both ways. Given unboxing returns aren't great, not many packages will be opened, keeping overall supply of the collection pretty stable. Alternatively, you could say that since the ROI is so bad, people don't like the skins in it, and that you want higher unboxing numbers as an indication of its popularity. I certainly think there's potential for the package itself to rise over time, given it's a consumable with limited supply, but without any golds and its awful odds, I'm not sure it could perform as well as some of the cases I mentioned earlier with comparable unboxing numbers. Personally, I'd be focused on the skins inside. So far, I've been speaking primarily about the M4, and if we look at its pricing, it's been on a downward trajectory ever since the removal spike. The field-tested Horus was sitting around $224 pre-removal, spiked a high of about $900, and is now back to around $500. I would be keeping a keen eye on this, especially if it drops below that $400 mark. I think this skin just looks too good, and with such low overall supply, has too much potential to be stockpiled for prices to remain that low indefinitely. Now, besides the high tier skins being a driving force of prices, there's also a number of other skins that are quite unique in the Anubis collection. Take the All Black Nile for example, where the black metal in factory new turns bronze as the float increases. We've also got the Emperor A1S Mud Spec, which has a similar effect at higher wears, and I personally think the Glock and two pinks look incredible. I was running them on my own loadout for a while. If you look at historical returns of discontinued map collections, the lower tier rarities often outperform the higher ones. For example, the 2021 Mirage collection, which was part of Operation Riptide, just like the 2021 Train collection for the M4 Coalition, we can see that since January 2022, the Orb Desert Hydra has only risen by 18% overall, albeit with a lot of volatility over this period. But if we take a look at the price graph for one of its consumer skins, the Mag 7 Navy Sheen, it's up 899% over the same period. While play skin demand isn't there, these lower tier skins are constantly consumed in trade-ups and hence supply drops. Right now, the cheapest factory new Anubis consumer skins start at around 60 cents, higher than the 9 cents from the prior example, but there is a ton of field tested ones sitting at just 5 cents. There's not much room for those to drop any further, but over time I could see their value rising, so it might be worthwhile getting a bit of exposure at this cheaper entry point. If you've made it this far, I've got something for you. I'm giving away a factory new survival knife tiger tooth to one of you this month. To enter, just like the video and leave a comment including the word tiger. I'll be picking the winner on April 30th. Good luck. Overall, the Anubis collection is unique. It's the only one ever to have a non-souvenir package available via the in-game store. It was pre-armory, so it's possible no new collection ever gets released in that format again. If we think about how they've introduced Overpass 2024 and Train 2025 via the armory, that seems like a strong indication. It's important to keep in mind that it also has souvenir packages, featured in Paris 2023, Shanghai Copenhagen 24, and Austin 2025. But as you could see from the initial data, souvenir supply is substantially lower, and I don't think it will have a big impact in this instance, especially if a new Anubis collection is released soon, cementing its discontinuation. The package itself got unexpectedly taken out of the store, so people didn't have a chance to stock up. That's also good news. It's hard to say exactly what the overall remaining supply of the package itself is, but at the moment there's about 6,000 listings on Steam. Compared to cases, that would put it near the Falchion or Shadow cases, which according to CS Stonks are both amongst those with the lowest remaining supply. To be clear, unlike some of my other videos, I'm not necessarily saying now is the best time to get in on this collection. I imagine that prices will continue to drop for a little while, especially for some of the most popular skins, but I'd be keeping a keen eye on things over the coming months. This is certainly a longer term play, so patience is key. One easy way to do this is set up a portfolio on Price Empire. You don't actually have to own any of the skins, but it will let you track prices over time and can be an easy reminder to take a look whenever you're reviewing your portfolios. Add perhaps a couple of skins in varying conditions from each rarity, and you'll be able to quickly see how they've been performing lately. I actually have a portfolio set up here called Case Index. I created it back in August last year, and it just contains one of every case. Now at any given time, I can see how the case market is performing overall, the recent trends, and the top or worst performers. Make one for the Anubis skins of your choice, and it could be really interesting. Personally, I'd be looking at some of the consumer skins with the largest float ranges, such as the XM Hieroglyph and MB7 Sunbaked for trade-up fodder, or skins like the AK Steel Delta, or Black Nile, or Glock Ramsey's Reach, if you prefer to prioritize items that will likely see higher play skin demand. demand. To finish, I just wanted to make one more comparison. Of course, they're not identical collections, given Overpass doesn't contain the consumer rarity, but with everyone claiming that Overpass is such a great investment, supply of the Factory New Be the Monster is almost double the Eye of Horus, so take that as you will. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this analysis in the comments below, and if you want to understand the real impact of CS2 farming bots on the skin economy, check out this video next. Thanks so much for watching, and take care.